Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hi, how are you? We wish you good always. We are from Group 5 and in here we will present about picture 6 fish life cycle. Before we started, we will introduce ourselves first. And without taking too long time, please check the video. My name is Davina Griska Ardelia and my number is 10.
My name is Dwi Rahayu Diastuti, number 12.
I'm Evan Ahmad Aryan, number 13.
I'm Fardina Nuraini, number 14.
My name is Mutiara Nurmadani Arya Putri from number 25.
My name is Sultan Aidan Abdi Suparto, number 33.
Before we continue to the next chapter, let me explain what we will discuss about. We will discuss about definition, generic structure, language features, fish growth, and the video fish life process, and identify text.
In the first is definition of explanation text. An explanation text is a non-fiction text that is used to describe how or why things happen. It usually includes a sequence of events explaining how and provides reason for a process or phenomenon why. Types of explanation text. First, explanation texts are categorized according to the type of process they describe. 2. Explanation that describe natural or non-natural phenomenon, for example life cycles. 3. Cause and effect explanation. Explanation text that links cause and effect and explaining how and why an event occurred, for example volcanoes. Next is social function. An explanation text is used to describe how or why a certain phenomenon happens.
Okay, in here I will tell about a generic structure of explanation. In explanation text has a 3 generic structure. First is a general statement to introduce the topic, and in this structure is describe or identify the phenomenon. The second is a sequence of explanation of why or how something occurs, and this is talks about how or why something changes and shall show cause and effect or time. And the last structure is a closing or concluding statement. This is optional structure. It sums up about the explanation and talks about application. And it also gives an explanation. Okay guys, after we learned about a generic structure of the explanation text, now we learn about a language feature of the explanation text. Guys, explanation text has a 9 language feature. First is a focus on generic non-human participant. For the example is a rainbow and rain. Second is the use of general or abstract noun like striking. Third is the use of action verb. For example is look and swim and push. The next language feature is the use simple present. Simple present is tell about something that happened or something continue to happen. The use of passive voice, the use conjunction of time like before and after. The use conjunction of cause like as a result and because. The use noun phrases, the use complex sentences, and the last is the use technical language. I think it's clear about language feature of the explanation text.
We will skip this chapter because it will be discussed in the identify chapter. So let me play the video about life cycle of fish. Let's check it out. life cycle when they reproduce again. Life cycle of fish can be divided into 6 stages. First, egg. After fertilization, an embryo will form into the egg. The embryo obtains nutrition for growth from the yolk sac and mother bloodstream for the blue whale. The second is larva. Larva divided into 2 types, prolarva and postlarva. Prolarva have a yolk as their food, and postlarva when the yolk has been exhausted, so make the body and other organs will turn into the fry state. Third is fry stage, when the young fish have completely absorbed the yolk sac and start looking for their own food, or the name is zooplankton. Other name of fry stage is last stage of fish larva. Next is juvenile. Juvenile is the initial stage of metamorphosis in fish. The meaning is fishes change their physical characteristic. Juvenile fish will look like a miniature of adult fish. Juvenile have a mortality rate, meaning that only a few will survive. Next is adult stage. This stage begins when the fish reproductive ability is full functional, so they are able to reproduce the fishes. This stage can be the longest phase in a fish life, or can survive for many years. Last stage is spawning. This stage called resulting in fertilization. This is the start of their life cycle. The meaning of the start, also the end, the reproduction stage, where females release the egg in the water and males release sperm cells to fertilize the egg.
And then, now I will explain identify text about general statement. Fish have a life cycle. The life cycle in question is where fish will experience development from starting their life to reproducing. Most fish have external fertilization. The female fish will release her egg within a certain time in the water, while the male fish will release sperm cell to fertilize eggs in the water. When a sperm cell meets an egg cell, fertilization occurs and the life cycle of a fish begins. But in certain fish species, fertilization occurs internally, namely fertilization that occurs inside the mother's body.
A sequence of sentence. Fish reproduction. The first stage of the fish life cycle is the egg. Like eggs in general, after fertilization occurs, an embryo will form inside the egg. After the embryo is formed, the eye spots and tail organs will develop. The embryo obtains nutrients for its growth from the yolk sac in some species, such as the blue whale. The embryo obtains nutrients from the mother's bloodstream. The second stage is larvae. Larvae are divided into 2 types. The first one is prolarvae. Prolarvae have a yolk sac as their food, have a rudimentary body and sometimes turn upside down because of the oil in their egg yolks. The second one is postlarvae. When the yolk has been exhausted, the prolarvae will turn into postlarvae. The body and some of their organs begin to develop and will turn into the fry stage. The third stage is tiller or fry. This stage is when the young fish have completely absorbed the yolk sac and are ready to start looking for their own food. Zooplankton is one of the foods commonly consumed by fry. This stage is the last stage of fish larvae. The next stage is juvenile. The juvenile stage is the initial stage of metamorphosis in fish. At this stage, it will look like a miniature adult fish. Almost all of the internal organs and fins are fully developed, although the coloration may look different from the adult stage. Considered juvenile fish that have a high mortality rate, meaning that only a few will survive. If the gonads have started working, this will be the end of the juvenile stage of the fish. Next is adult. This stage begins when the fish's reproductive ability is fully functional. The adult stage begins with the first maturation of the gonads and when they can no longer reproduce. For some fish species, at this point will complete the migrations. Change in color patterns, pairing behavior, and secondary characteristics in certain species will clearly visible during this period. The adult stage can be the longest phase in a fish life, as it can last for many years. The last stage of fish life cycle is senescence. Senescence is an aging phase in fish. Fish will stop breeding. At this stage, growth will slow down and may only a few hours like salmon or maybe several years sturgeon. As we know, fish have their own uniqueness. It can be seen with the phenomenon of the fish life cycle, which requires several great stages so that fish can live perfectly and breed again.
As you can see, there are colorful signs. Each of the signs indicate the language feature in the text. Okay, I will explain you the meaning of the signs on that text. The bright green marks show the focus on generic. The bright blue marks show the non-human participant. The dark blue marks show general and abstract nouns. The dark green marks show action verb. The pink marks show simple present. The black marks show the passive voice. The dark red marks show the conjunction of time and cause. The red marks show non-phrase. The green marks show complex sentence, and the last, the gray marks show the technical language.
And next, I will read the conclusion of this material. So, explanation text is text that contains the process of why or how event can occur. Its function is to tell the audience why or how something happened. This text has a general structure, namely general statement, a bunch of explanation, and closing. Equipped with language features such as general and abstract noun, action verbs, simple present, passive voice, conjunction of time and cause, complex sentence, and technical language. This text describes the life cycle of a fish from eggs until senescence.
Okay, that's it. Presentation from our group. And now we enter to the Q&A session. This is a question.
My name is Laksmi Angelita Ardianti, number 21 from Group 1. So my question is, what are the specific characteristics of fish group in the adult phase? Thank you.
This is the answer.
Okay, I will answer the question from Laksmi about the specific characteristic of fish group in the adult phase. So, the specific characteristic of fish in the adult phase is when the fish be able to reproduce some fishes, and the adult stage can be the longest phase in the fish, or the meaning is can we survive for many years.